Ethan, that's not who we are.
Maybe we need to reconsider that.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Check-In. We just happened to see a bonus screening of the highly anticipated movie Mission Impossible Fallout. In all the reviews, they were saying it's one of the best action films ever made, transcending everything the franchise has done in any action film, and we're pretty much here to tell you whether it lived up to that review. What do you think, Mike?
I think it was incredible. I loved it. It was amazing!
Yeah.
But without just, exclaiming my thoughts oh! I will be...
Which you did anyway.
I will be a calm critic and just calmly say that it's so much fun!
Yeah, it delivers on all the... The thing about Mission Impossible movies is that not that you're not expecting there to be character and story, but because most films, even films that are supposed to be, well, it's really about the action, you still need to have a decent amount of story and character. And I believe that, with the exception of 2, all the Mission Impossible movies have that. I think that's why it's been such a successful franchise.
Well, since you're going into that, why don't we say what we think of the franchise overall?
Let's start with that, yeah.
I got you to watch all of them in one day. I just showed it to you like a whole marathon.
Yeah, pretty
binging.
much. Mm-hmm.
But I will start first. I grew up with them. My dad showed me the first one when the third movie came out, 1 and 2 in 2005. I remember the third one vividly. That's why it's my personal favorite. But without going into each film, the second one is clearly the worst one, but without 6, because I'll give you my list right now, because I need to think about 6.
Mm-hmm.
3, 4, 1, 5, 2. What about you? What are your thoughts? Yeah.
For me, it's, first my list is 4, 3, 5, 1, 2. With potential for this one to maybe be the top one. I just have to see it again.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mission Impossible, what I was also saying before, was that in addition to needing some kind of story and character, they also know that the films are shot on film. There is pretty much zero CG except for death, but even then it's so minimal. Wherever you see and what they are doing, they are actually doing that. And with movies nowadays, I feel like knowing that can help enhance, your viewing pleasure of the film. And the return of pretty much all but Jeremy Renner's character due to Avengers, it really ties together a lot of the other films while still kind of being its own thing. It doesn't just rely on the fact that, we have this from this film, this from that film, because the other Mission Impossible films were their own things and almost always, never had connections with the other films except for returning characters, not returning storylines.
Well, let's go into this movie.
So, yeah.
And also, a spoiler warning, we'll be talking about everything in its detailed glory. Let's just begin how the movie begins. Do you want to just talk about it?
Let's not talk about spoilers first and foremost.
Aw.
Well, just because I think that... Well, okay, let me just get out a couple more things before we do that. Just so that that anybody listening who wants, more about what we think without spoilers, is that this is the longest film.
Mm-hmm.
You hardly even feel the length, even though you are aware that things are happening for a long time. The twists and turns... There are more twists and turns in this in every other thing. If you think that you're going to be able to have watched previous films and say, oh, I know when such and such thing is going to happen, or, oh, they do this in every Mission Impossible movie, I'm going to be prepared for it. Odds are you will not. You may call a few things, but you're not going to know a lot of them. And also, this movie has a very odd sense of... It's got an odd sense of positivity in its very dire storyline. And I think that's important for Ethan Hunt's character because every single time we go through Mission Impossible movies, he is at odds with pretty much everyone. He's either framed, disavowed, on the run in some way, rogue. And because of that, there's not sort of this... There's an element of survival and figuring things out, whereas this movie, and we'll get to specifics of what lines are said, all I will say about this movie is that you might not see it until you reflect on it after you've seen the whole thing. This movie has an overwhelming amount of positivity that somehow McQuarrie makes the most dramatic and dark film, but the undertone of what Ethan is doing and when he succeeds and when he fails, there's actually a lot of positivity. And that's kind of all I say, because I'll explain it more when we get into spoilers.
I just want to get started.
You want to jump in? Okay, so spoiler alert from this point on.
I loved it from the opening image. Not the cold open, not the first scene. The first thing we see is the wedding. And I like it because it's Ethan's first nightmare. He has a 3-beat nightmare, and it comes back to the ending, which we'll get to.
Solomon
Lane is
the officiator. He's the one officiating the wedding in the dream.
And then, like, I like, I don't even know what to say. Okay, sorry. I like that he's connecting Ethan to, like, look what you've done in the past, look what you're making us do, you're gonna kill her. Is she gonna die? Oh, it'll be by my hands. And I love that. And then we get to the cold open. Yes, it's a long movie, so it's a 20-minute cold open. But I think I saw your reaction when they closed the doors and they got the doctor. When it was all revealed to be a trick. Like, come back to the first movie.
Oh, yeah, that was probably my favorite moment of the movie, as far as, like, gotcha.
Fake Wolf Blitzer. and Benji wore a mask, and we talked about this. Everything that we thought the plot was going to be was in the cold open. There is no mission.
Oh, yeah, the presentation in the trailer, one thing I will say, the Henry Cavill being a part of the CIA the whole time, that is untrue. The fact that Henry Cavill throughout most of the movie is the villain, that is untrue. The fact that Solomon Lane escapes and that's like a cold open and Ethan has nothing to do with it, that is also untrue. And the fact that, you know, the wedding and certain things you thought were going to be happening were actually happening in flashback. So also untrue. There's like a ton of things that are untrue, that it's why it subverts your expectations, because McQuarrie knows everyone's going to go in really smugly like, I know this franchise. I'm going to be able to predict everything because I'm such a pro at it. And I'm still going to like it, but I'm going to be proud of myself. And just, you cannot. And then the film, that's the thing, the film reels you in so much that when you could be predicting something and you probably would be right, you're so into the movie, you forget to want to be predicting. Mm-hmm. That's what's really good, because some of them we can predict as like, oh, are they doing this? Are they doing this? Are they doing this? But big action set pieces where there's big twists, those big action set pieces do their job, because it's not just mindless action. It is action that keeps you engaged in the story, and it prevents you from actively trying to be that smart film school nerd that tries to predict everything, and it allows you to just enjoy the film. And that's the biggest thing for me. It was enjoyable.
Act 1 goes by so fast. It was a lot of the trailer stuff, and I was like, already? Like, with the bathroom fight. We're going to this already? Like, them jumping out of the plane already? But it was good stuff. Like, I like Henry Cavill going, and he's such, like, a maniacal dick, where he, like, pulls out the oxygen. He's like, I got you. And then Tom Cruise gets struck by lightning. You're like, oh my gosh.
The film is so big that we forgot Tom Cruise gets struck by lightning when jumping out of the plane.
And he still saves Henry Cavill.
And honestly, the thing that's funny is that there have been 6 movies, well, 5 before this. This movie, there's like 3 or 4 big set pieces that are bigger than anything they've done. Not there's the one big set piece that tops. There are multiple set pieces that top anything they did in 5 movies combined.
The whole point of Act 1 was getting, what was his name? The fake Asian guy?
Lark.
Wait, it turns out
this mysterious figure.
Turns out to be Henry Cavill. That, you don't know what you've seen from the bathroom fight. That bathroom fight is incredible. It beats the shit out of you. Or am I supposed to not say language?
Well, I mean, it's too late now. But the thing is that there are the gotcha moments that we want to also experience, and kind of skipping ahead a little bit, we can kind of backtrack, but I feel like I want to focus on Henry Cavill, because he gave a great performance, and I think that his character is one of the most compelling villains we've had. I don't really know whether to say best as of this point, but the thing about the villains is that there's never a twist about their identity, with the exception of the first film. But you can kind of predict that if you're watching it back nowadays, when it literally was released the year I was born, 22 years ago. So the thing is, it's crazy that Tom Cruise has been doing it this long. But the thing about Henry Cavill is that he's revealed to be Lark, a guy who is trading with Solomon Lane's henchmen called the Apostles, but we think is just some mysterious guy. And then Henry Cavill blames Ethan. And the thing about subverting expectations, you think, okay, he's gonna go on the run, he's gonna go rogue, has to clear his name. No, he doesn't have to do that, because the reason why Henry Cavill tells Angela Bassett, who's the head of the CIA, that Hunt is Lark, is because he's Lark. Not because he genuinely thinks that Hunt is Lark and he's trying to frame him. He's trying to frame him because he's Lark and in cahoots with Solomon Lane. And the way the IMF team figures out and tricks Henry Cavill into admitting that he's a member of or working with the Apostles is such another badass gotcha moment that you want. Like, it's the equivalent of when they put the walls up around Solomon Lane and get him in a box.
Well,
like, that's all I'll say.
Also, I'll backtrack into the party as well. It goes straight from the bathroom to the White Widow. I love the White Widow, even though she's not much in the second act. What she does, like, you've seen the trailer, she stabs the guy, and she takes a knife out of her leg and stabs the other guy in the face.
In the face.
It's amazing. And she's a great character, too. And I heard you were like,
she also subverts her expectations.
He's married.
Yeah, well, not anymore, clearly, though.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing is that it's true, you subvert expectations because she winds up being an operative for the CIA.
Yeah.
But you don't know that. Like, her whole team does.
And they still didn't lose. Like, I love Ilsa.
Ilsa.
I keep on forgetting. Ilsa Fausch. The way she's introduced is amazing. And I forgot about her British intelligence subplot for a little bit because I liked 5, but 5 was, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because I remember it, and it was such well paid off in this movie.
But somehow, the other thing they do really well is that Act 2 is full of people with different agendas, and it doesn't get overly complicated. Like, you know that, like, okay, you know the Apostles are just whoever is helping Solomon Lane, and then there's another sort of gang force that's going after the ones who the blonde-haired girl that winds up being, what's her name? The white Scarlet... No, not Scarlet. Wait, White Widow.
White Widow.
White Widow. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm thinking Scarlet, Black, all these different things. White Widow. She and her brother wind up being CIA operatives, but the rest of that team, the rest of that group are actual criminals. So you know that there's someone after them, which is kind of a nice thing. Like when you're kind of not that you're unclear, but when you're not really wondering, wait, who is it? Who's it? You know what? It's a bad guy. Who cares? He's running away from them.
I'm kind of skipping to the ending, but I'll get to the second act in just a minute. I just want to say this. This is a Mission Impossible movie that made me tear up. I automatically posted this. You looked at me. I was sobbing.
I didn't look at you. I heard you.
Okay. Well,
for the record.
I could not get over the final conversation between Julia and Ethan. It carries back to the third movie, but the way they help each other and they serve the characters, I couldn't stop crying. I wanted to be like, look at the screen, but I couldn't because my eyes were all watery. But also, it not only is Ethan's most dramatic moment, because I love the points where he's like, I got this, you know, Benji, I'm gonna save you, or it's like, you know, where what was it, the tagline,
I'll get to that. The tagline should have been, which is I'll figure it out. Like, I'll find a way.
No, it wasn't it.
What's done is done when we say it's done. That one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's also a good line, but I'll get to that in a second.
But also, the team here, it's not about doing the mission. Each of the team gets individual stakes. Like, oh, is Luther gonna die? Oh no, Benji's being hanged. Oh, you know, Elaine is attacking Fausch. Like, I loved the tension in here. Maybe not the best action, but I love the drama. I like the drama better than the action in this movie.
Honestly, the hand-to-hand combat stuff was what kind of jumped up. Like, the action set pieces were good. I'm going to deviate a little bit just because I kind of want to comment on what I said before, and it's not like a part of the film. It's my big thing. So, what I was saying about positivity, there's a line that is repeated by pretty much every character, Hunt more than once, where they say, how are we going to do it? He's like, I'll find a way. I'll get it done. And every character says it, and that's what I'm talking about. The film is so dark, but the element of the film that I like is that pretty much the whole idea of the film is people telling him he can't, which is common in Mission Impossible films. But the thing that I enjoyed so much was the idea that you can't have it both ways. You can't be the person who saves the one and also saves the many. But not only did the end of this film prove it wrong, but the entire film, again, you have to reflect on it before you realize this. The rest of the film was building on that, and while there was a cause and effect, the team always seemed like they were heading somewhere, and anytime they hit a snag, they kind of bounced back, and anytime everyone was at odds, they were like, no, I still trust you. Ilsa, you have your thing, I have my thing. I forgive you for hitting me with the truck. Just this bit you see in the trailer. And that positivity with the car, off her motorcycle. But that's where that positivity really comes in, is because in the end, you do see that is the way that they're going with this, and that's the positivity.
Also, to add to you, he doesn't mind killing people, but it's civilians, like the cop. I'm gonna save anyone necessary.
Oh yeah, like anybody necessary, anybody who isn't someone he's fighting against, he's going to want to save.
Yeah.
And the film shows us being successful. That's the thing. Rogue Nation I like because it's a lighter film with darker undertones. This one is a darker film with lighter undertones. Because, for example, he can't save that girl in the record shop. But he can save... There's a police officer. It's actually played for laughs as well, too. There's a bit where they are putting Solomon Lane, who has a black bag over his head. Luther is about to put him in a car, and then a gate opens. There's a single policewoman literally outside this garage, and looks. She sees Hunt, Benji, Luther, and Henry Cavill, and Walker, Henry Cavill's character, just frozen in place. And she's like, freeze, like, look. And then the other bad guys come in, shoot the cop in the thigh, and they're about to do away with her. And Ethan, with 5 bullets, shoots these 4 guys, and just boom, 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 like stuff you see from the trailer. And again, it seems like such a small thing, but he honestly, this is the movie where he saves the most amount of people. But the thing is, that's not a negative. That's why I love this movie so much. And now that I talk about it, I realize I like it more, is how dark it is, but how successful. For example, what Mike said what this Mike said, because I know I'm Mike too. It's confusing over the audio. But what you said about the opening, where they literally have a screen where nuclear war has happened. Simon Pegg is pretending to be Wolf Blitzer. The guy's like, read my terrorist thing on the air.
And he's laughing
Ethan's
while
playing.
he does it.
He's like, I'm laughing. Like, yes, this is good. And literally, screens come down. Didn't ever happen. The car accident. Oh, you were in a car accident 2 weeks ago. Oh, I was really just an hour ago. We tricked you, man. And they literally things like that. And then that's the first time Ethan says, what's done is done when we say it's done. And those two, I'll get to it, and what's done is done when we say it's done.
Also,
it puts the power in IMF, even though this movie seems like they're at their most vulnerable, but they're actually at their most powerful.
I keep on going back to that first act because I love it. Act 1 ends when they get Solomon Lane, I think, because that was the goal for that. After that, a very powerful, meaningful scene happens when Alec Baldwin dies. And I love that because his final words, go, go, he trusts Ethan. Even like you said, talking to Angela Bassett, he's like, no, he did it for the team. I trust him. I told him what to do. And he did it. And he's protecting your team. And I love that because in 5, you didn't know if he was against him or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, even moving into Act 2, though, the way it flows, too, because Act 2 is a lot of complications,
it's long set pieces, like there's
a car chase scene. Pretty much the obtaining Solomon Lane. Actually, I don't even know if that's end of Act 1. That might be part of Act 2. Because the obtaining of Solomon Lane, and then later on when
sorry.
when Henry Cavill betrays him.
I don't want this to go unnoticed. I love that pre-setup getting Solomon Lane, and you see Ethan, what never happened. Ethan having to shoot the cop. I love that too. But sorry,
that's an alternate take where Ethan's going to start shooting. No, I honestly think when he meets the White Widow and she's like, now you're going to continue and you're going to to get the plutonium, because that's the whole go. So I actually think the two big parts, they're big parts, but they drive the character. There's so much, the big part of Act 2.
The plot happens because he saved Luther instead of getting the plutonium. And he got one of them, but now he needs to get the 2 of them.
Yeah, because again, this movie is so great at, I could categorize the acts, the sequences in the acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, by chunks. The chunk in the hotel, that is actually Act 1. And then Act 2A, before the midpoint, is pretty much first big chunk, actually, probably most of it, chunk where they obtain Solomon Lane, then the slower moments, chunk after Henry Cavill betrays them.
Well, that's the midpoint,
and there's more. It is. Yeah. But I'm saying that's part of the whole chunk of Act 2.
Yeah.
And you can have those chunks, and have them be really dynamic, but that's the point. They have to be dynamic. They have to, he's got to be surrounded here, surrounded there. He's got to be making handle brake turns, literally making turns he would make with like a freaking Ferrari. He's making with like a big dump truck, like a pit, not a dump truck, like a big white truck, like that has like a load at the back, like that kind of stuff. And it's so well done. And then when the twist happens, it's a completely different beast. And that pursuing scene, the death of Hunley and the warning that I'm going to, like, I'm your ex-wife Julia's guardian angel, and if you don't do what I say, she'll die. So it all kind of blends so well. I know I'm forgetting bits and pieces because there's so much in that middle chunk that I'm just forgetting now.
You would just go to the third act, the final act.
Let's go to the third act, because the third act, they don't have those oh shit moments and those like not oh shit moments.
No, I get it, but also
like gotcha moments.
What, you know what got me?
Because that was in the beginning.
Julia being there. I love Julia. The dynamic between Julia and Ethan. She's a doctor and she's doing what she loves because of Ethan, but Ethan's protecting her while not really being there for her. Julia being there, I went, like, I couldn't tell if that was real or not because I didn't want to accept it. Like, no, Julia, you're in danger. But they also
always knew she'd be in danger.
They also set it up because, she's a ghost and she's great at hiding. That's what Luther said.
Yeah, I actually like that they made a comment about, like, she's not just in police custody. She is, like, an active, like, agent who does... She is not someone who's, like, a damsel if found. Like, no, like, she's in
helping
there.
Luther disable the bomb.
And everything in that third act, yes, there's no big putting Solomon Lane in a box, gotcha trickery, mask removal, but honestly, I actually was thinking, you know what?
There's dogfights with helicopters.
They did two of those, one in Act 1, one in Act 2. This, it's all about the tension. And I gotta say, when all was said and done, I didn't realize I was holding my breath. Like, that's the thing.
I was clenching this.
Same deal with like, even though it's different, like Incredibles 2. Like, I'm like when the boat goes onto the land, I'm just like, I'm like, and I'm like, wait, was I holding my breath? Not the whole time, clearly, I would have died. But this movie makes me realize how much I'm holding my breath during
that's why it's such a sigh of relief.
You know what I mean?
After my amazing conversation that I love, the last line is like, don't make me laugh. He can finally be happy.
Yeah, he's like, I'm at
and
ease.
that
Like,
makes the audience happy.
This big chapter of my life that spanned 2 movies is now concluded for the time being.
Ilsa Fausch is an amazing character. Like, her and Lane step it up in this movie. She's always like, trying to be with Ethan, and he's like, just go, get out of the way, just walk away. And she's like, no,
I can't. And then she finally does.
And she does.
And you know what? There's a great scene with her and Luther where they don't explicitly say it, but he says, Ethan really only cared for like 2 women in his life.
Exactly.
One of them was Julia. He then continues to talk about Julia and what happened. They split up. She's a ghost now in the system because of him, blah, blah, blah. He has a big deal with him. They continue, and then Ethan walks in. So you're thinking, wait, who's the second woman?
She
second
doesn't
woman
need to
is
hear
Ilsa.
it, but
the
she
second
needs
woman
to believe
is
it.
Ilsa. Yeah, and she doesn't know it. I don't think she knows it at that point.
But she needs to believe.
Because Luther says it so casually, like, he's only cared about, like, I don't know, like 2 women, serious. Like, it's so casual. Like, it could be 3, it could be 1, could be... And Julia is who he talks about, because that is what we just
White Widow?
learned.
Like, no, yeah.
No, clearly it wasn't
they
her.
Did share a kiss,
again, they did share a pretty weird and intense kiss. But again, it's still, everything kind of like is interwoven really well. And again, the set pieces that you came for are not sacrificed for the story.
No, not
they
at
know
all.
what you're coming in for, but they also are going to be like, no, we're going to make a good film. Because, that's what separates us from, like, just any old action movie with nothing, with no depth.
They leave it to the very last second too, but they don't mention Brant if you're hoping for that.
Yeah, I do love the character of Brant. But I'm glad Hunley had the role that he did in this, because I feel like there's, as far as the naysayer, the one who kind of disagrees with Ethan, not too much, because there's other characters who do that. I did miss Brant and his like morality thing, but this movie didn't have. They didn't fit him in. They perfectly wrote him out, and maybe he'll be in the next one. And I hope so, because I know what happens to him.
To conclude your thoughts before saying your grade. I have a question. What stood out to you the most technically, or what impressed you? I will go first, but you think about it. This movie had the best score. Not only did it fit with the theme, like dun 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 dun. I loved the intricacy of the score when it played when Solomon came in, or when the nightmares came in, or how it added to Ethan's character. This was the best score. I forget who did the music, but I want to buy the soundtrack. Oh, well, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I would say I do really think that the editing was really well done. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think technically. Like, obviously, technically, most things were really well done and everything. Like, I thought that I was impressed with how they... Actually, I know what I know. how they filmed the skydiving scene, because it's like this, that's
one
real.
shot.
That's real. It's that's another thing.
Yeah.
It's one shot. Clearly, unless we're meant to believe otherwise, that's real. So they let them fall for thousands of feet, and it's for attention, like this many feet, deploy, shoot, this many feet, deploy, shoot, this. That was a single shot with two actors. I don't know. We don't see Henry Cavill's face, so maybe that was a stunt double in that moment. 'Cause I don't think Henry Cavill did that.
Yeah.
But again, like it's. The camera's falling with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is falling out of a plane. They can't do it until a certain point of the ground. And I just felt like, as far as the behind the scenes, I would almost like to see how they did that over the helicopter. So that was the most intricate, and that was the most, that was the most intricate thing that I really, that I thought was really interesting.
What's your grade?
It's an A, and it's a wait in line.
A wait in line for me too.
It might not be like other wait in line films, but on the pure merit of cinematic genius and visual on a big screen, it's a wait in line.
I know I like 3
absolutely.
better because
we did wait in line.
Yeah, we did. I don't think anything will beat it, but I don't know if it's better than 4. I need to see it again. We're seeing it again opening night in IMAX. So we'll see how that goes. But
I think this one was more
top
crystal
5 right
clear
now.
with every element. Like 4 is good, but it's
Figured.
like 4 is good, 7 is just as good, but 6 is just as good. I'm getting ahead of myself.
It's better than Fate of the Furious.
But adds more things that it's like, well, Ghost Protocol had everything 7 had, but it added more. So it might be my favorite. I really have to see of what I prefer in terms of what, like, the humor I like in 5, and I like Benji's and I like Benji and Brant in 4, and I really like the emotion in 3. It's just
yeah.
kind of amalgamated, like, what is my favorite? And the thing is, quite frankly, I don't even think it matters, because 3, 4, 5, 6, that's an enjoyable watch for me. So is 1, obviously, but as far as consistent, because there's that one little movie in the middle in 2. But just the whole way through, I just really think this is a stellar film and a welcome addition to this franchise.
Yes, I agree.
So yeah, thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you at the next big film.
Accept it, Ethan. You've lost this one. What's done is done. What's done is done when we say it's done.
Showtime.
Oh my God.